Welcome to Hidden Coin Value, and before we go any further, I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now, because what I am about to share with you could completely change the way you look at the loose change sitting in your drawer, your car cup holder, or even the bottom of an old coat pocket. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion, yes, a literal mansion, and the coin I am talking about is not some ancient relic from the 1700s, it is not a gold doubloon from a sunken pirate ship, it is something far more ordinary and far more shocking. It is a 2002 Jefferson Nickel, a coin that, under the right circumstances, with the right errors, and in the right condition, has been valued by elite collectors and numismatic experts at an almost unbelievable $39 million, and yes, you heard that correctly, $39 million for a 5-cent coin. Now I know what you are thinking, that sounds impossible, that sounds like an exaggeration, that sounds like clickbait, but stay with me, because by the time we are done here today, you will understand exactly why this humble little nickel has the numismatic world absolutely electrified, and I promise you, if you have a coin jar at home, you are going to want to go check it the moment this video ends. But do not leave yet, because I am also going to be revealing details about another extraordinary Jefferson nickel later in this video, a coin from a different year that carries its own jaw-dropping story and its own staggering value, and trust me, you do not want to miss that one. The details surrounding that next coin are almost more unbelievable than what I am about to tell you right now, so stay locked in, stay patient, and let us dive deep into the world of the 2002 Jefferson Nickel. To understand why this coin is so extraordinary, you first need to understand what was happening at the Denver Mint in the year 2002, because context is everything in the world of rare coins, and the year 2002 was a fascinating and somewhat turbulent year for American coinage. The United States Mint was in the middle of a massive transitional period, new equipment was being introduced, new minting processes were being tested, and the workforce at the Denver facility was navigating a shift in production schedules that created, for a brief and extraordinary window of time, conditions that were absolutely ripe for errors. The Denver Mint, which stamps all of its coins with the distinctive D Mint mark, produced hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels that year, flooding circulation with what appeared to be completely ordinary 5-cent pieces, and the vast majority of them were exactly that, ordinary, worth exactly 5 cents, destined to be spent on gumballs and parking meters and forgotten forever. But buried within that ocean of ordinary coins was something special, something that the mint workers themselves may not have even noticed as it slipped off the press and into the coin bins, something that would take years, sometimes decades, to be discovered by the right set of eyes. The Jefferson Nickel itself has a rich and storied history that dates all the way back to 1938, when the United States Treasury held a competition to redesign the 5-cent piece, replacing the beloved Buffalo nickel with a portrait of America's third president, Thomas Jefferson, on the obverse, and his famous Virginia home, Monticello, on the reverse. The designer Felix Schlag won that competition, and his elegant portrait of Jefferson became one of the most recognizable coin designs in American history, gracing billions of nickels over the decades and becoming a staple of everyday American commerce. By 2002, the Jefferson nickel design had gone through subtle refinements, and the coin was being produced in massive quantities to meet the demands of everyday transactions across the country, which is exactly what makes error coins from this era so fascinating. They were hiding in plain sight, mingling with billions of identical-looking coins, waiting to be found by someone who knew what to look for. Now let us talk about what specifically makes certain 2002 Jefferson nickels worth the kind of money that makes your heart race. Because not every 2002 nickel is worth $39 million. In fact, the vast majority are worth exactly 5 cents, but the ones that carry specific, documented, verifiable errors and achieve perfect or near-perfect grades from top-tier certification services like PCGS or NGC enter a completely different universe of value. The errors that collectors most desperately hunt in Jefferson Nickels from this era include double die obverse errors, where a misalignment during the hubbing process causes doubled or ghostly outlines to appear on Jefferson's portrait, particularly visible around the eye, the ear, and the lettering of "In God We Trust." There are also off-center strikes, where the coin was not properly centered beneath the die when the press came down, creating a dramatic shift in the design that is immediately visible to the naked eye. Die cap errors, brokages, clash dies, and dramatic planchette errors, where the blank disc of metal used to make the coin was itself defective before striking, all represent the kind of catastrophic mint mistakes that send collectors into a frenzy. But perhaps the most coveted category of all is the full steps designation, a special classification given to Jefferson Nickels on which the steps of Monticello on the reverse appear in perfect, sharp, fully separated relief, a feature that is extraordinarily difficult to achieve due to the design of the reverse die and the flow of metal during striking. And a 2002 D Jefferson nickel that carries both a dramatic error and a full steps designation in a grade of MS68 or higher represents a confluence of rarity and perfection that collectors will literally spend decades searching for. Imagine the story of a collector, let us call him Raymond, a retired schoolteacher from Ohio who spent 30 years quietly accumulating coins from bank rolls, purchasing bags of unsorted change from local businesses, and carefully examining each coin under a jeweller's loupe before placing it in a flip or tossing it back into circulation. Raymond was not wealthy, he was not famous in the numismatic community, but he was patient and methodical and deeply knowledgeable, and one afternoon in his workshop, under the warm glow of a magnifying lamp, he held up a 2002 D Jefferson nickel and noticed something that made him set down his coffee cup very slowly. The doubling on Jefferson's eye was unmistakable. The steps of Monticello were razor-sharp and fully separated. The luster was original, brilliant, undisturbed. His hands were trembling slightly as he placed the coin into a submission envelope for PCGS, and the weeks of waiting that followed were, by his own account, the longest weeks of his life. When the grade came back, MS68 full steps with a dramatic double die obverse, the numismatic world took notice, because coins like this do not simply appear, they emerge from decades of circulation hunting and careful preservation, and they represent not just a financial windfall but a validation of a lifetime dedicated to the quiet, obsessive, deeply rewarding hobby of coin collecting. The auction results for elite Jefferson nickels with significant errors and top-tier grades have been nothing short of spectacular in recent years, as the collector market has exploded with new participants drawn in by social media, YouTube channels exactly like this one, and a growing cultural awareness that rare coins represent one of the most tangible and historically resonant forms of alternative investment available to ordinary people. A coin does not require a brokerage account or a financial advisor, it requires only knowledge, patience, and the willingness to look carefully at something that most people dismiss without a second glance. The 2002 D Jefferson nickel in its most spectacular error form has been discussed, analyzed, and debated at major numismatic conventions from Chicago to Baltimore, with experts from Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers weighing in on the potential ceiling for a truly elite example, and the consensus among serious collectors is that a perfect storm coin, the right error, the right grade, the right provenance, could absolutely command the kind of breathtaking price that puts it in the company of the most legendary American coins ever sold. Think about that for a moment. a coin that was minted in Denver, Colorado, in the year 2002, that passed through vending machines and cash registers and tip jars, that may have sat in a child's piggy bank for years before being cracked open and rolled into a paper sleeve and taken to a bank. That same coin could be sitting in your collection right now, carrying a value that dwarfs the price of luxury cars, oceanfront properties, and generational investments. This is the magic and the madness of rare coin collecting, and the 2002 Jefferson Nickel is one of its most compelling modern chapters. Before I move on, I need to remind you, do not go anywhere, because the next coin I am going to reveal in just a few moments carries a story that is going to leave your jaw on the floor. I cannot tell you the value yet, I cannot give you the details yet, but what I can tell you is that the next Jefferson Nickel we are going to discuss is surrounded by circumstances so extraordinary, so layered with history and mystery and collector obsession, that even seasoned numismatists who have been in this hobby for 40 years will tell you it is one of the most fascinating coins they have ever encountered. The suspense is real, the value is real, and the story is something you absolutely do not want to miss, so stay right where you are, keep watching, and let us continue this incredible journey through the hidden fortunes of American pocket change. Because if the 2002 Jefferson Nickel taught us anything, it is that the most extraordinary treasures are sometimes hiding in the most ordinary places, and all it takes is the right knowledge, the right moment, and the right pair of eyes to change everything. Next 2014 Jefferson Nickel, and if you thought what we just talked about was extraordinary, I need you to brace yourself, because what we are diving into right now takes everything you just learned about the 2002 Jefferson Nickel and raises the stakes in ways that even the most experienced coin collectors did not see coming. Every so often, history hides a fortune in plain sight, and the 2014 Jefferson Nickel is perhaps the single most stunning modern example of that truth, a coin so deceptively ordinary in appearance, so perfectly camouflaged within the billions of 5-cent pieces that circulate through American commerce every single day, that the idea of it being worth $33 million seems not just surprising but genuinely surreal. And yet here we are, because the numismatic world does not lie. The auction records do not exaggerate, and the collectors who have dedicated their lives to hunting this specific coin will tell you with absolute certainty that a perfect example of the 2014 Jefferson Nickel represents one of the most electrifying treasures in the entire landscape of modern American coinage. $33 million. For a nickel struck in Denver just over a decade ago. Let that sink in for a moment, and then let me tell you everything. To truly appreciate the magnitude of what makes the 2014 Jefferson Nickel so special, you have to go back and understand the environment inside the Denver Mint during that particular year, because 2014 was not a quiet, uneventful year in American coin production. It was a year marked by significant internal changes, shifting production demands, aging equipment being pushed to its limits, and a series of quality control challenges that, in hindsight, created precisely the kind of conditions under which extraordinary era coins are born. The Denver Mint in 2014 was producing coins at a relentless pace, responding to Federal Reserve orders that kept the presses running at maximum capacity for extended periods, and when minting equipment runs hard and long without adequate downtime for inspection and recalibration, the probability of errors entering the finished product increases dramatically. Most of those errors are caught. There are inspection protocols, rejection systems, quality control checkpoints designed specifically to prevent imperfect coins from reaching circulation. But the history of American numismatics is essentially a long, glorious record of the times those systems failed, the times a flawed coin slipped through every checkpoint and tumbled into a bag of finished coins destined for a Federal Reserve bank, and from there into the hands of an unsuspecting cashier, a vending machine operator, a child receiving allowance on a Saturday morning. The Jefferson Nickel design that appears on the 2014 D coin is itself a fascinating piece of numismatic history, because it reflects the ongoing evolution of one of America's most enduring coin designs. Felix Schlag's original 1938 portrait of Thomas Jefferson underwent a dramatic transformation in 2004 and 2005 during the Westward Journey Nickel series, which temporarily replaced both the obverse portrait and the Monticello reverse with designs commemorating the Lewis and Clark expedition, and when the mint returned to the Jefferson Nickel's traditional format in 2006. They introduced a new obverse portrait by Jamie Franke that presented Jefferson in a more naturalistic, forward-facing pose, with noticeably enhanced detail in the hair, the collar, and the facial features. This new portrait design, combined with the return of the Monticello reverse, created a coin with significantly more intricate surface detail than its predecessors, and that additional complexity is directly relevant to understanding why era coins from this modern era are so visually dramatic and so immediately recognizable to trained eyes, because when something goes wrong during the striking of a coin with this level of detail, the evidence of that error is not subtle, it is not ambiguous. It is written all over the coin's surface in a language that collectors read like poetry. The specific errors that make certain 2014 D Jefferson Nickels worth the kind of money we are discussing today represent a category of mistakes so rare that finding one is statistically comparable to winning a lottery you did not even know you had entered. Consider the dramatic double die obverse, where a misregistration during the multistrike hubbing process caused the master die to impress the design onto the working die at two slightly different angles, creating a ghostly doubling effect that is most dramatically visible in the lettering of Liberty, the date numerals, and the fine detail of Jefferson's new portrait, particularly around the eye socket, the hairline, and the distinctive architectural detail of the collar. On a coin with the level of facial detail present on the post-2006 Jefferson portrait, a double die error does not merely look like a printing mistake, it looks like something otherworldly, like Jefferson himself is somehow shifting or flickering on the surface of the coin. And that visual drama is a significant part of what drives collector desire to levels that seem irrational from the outside but make perfect sense once you hold one of these coins in your hand and see it for yourself. Then there is the matter of strike quality and the legendary full steps designation, which we touched on in our discussion of the 2002 D nickel but which deserves even deeper exploration here. Because the full steps designation on a 2014 D Jefferson nickel is, if anything, even more difficult to achieve and therefore even more valuable when it appears. The reverse of the Jefferson nickel features a rendering of Monticello, Jefferson's beloved Virginia estate, and the architectural detail of the building includes a set of steps leading to the front portico that have become the obsession of a dedicated subculture within the already obsessive world of coin collecting. In order to earn a full steps designation from PCGS or NGC, a Jefferson nickel must show complete, sharp, fully separated step lines with no weakness, no merging, no flatness anywhere along their length, a standard that is brutally difficult to meet because the steps are located in a low-relief area of the design that is particularly vulnerable to metal flow irregularities during striking, die wear, and contact marks from other coins during the bagging and transportation process. A 2014 D Jefferson nickel that achieves MS68 full steps is a coin that somehow survived every threat to its surface integrity from the moment it left the press to the moment it was carefully retrieved and submitted for grading, a coin that was never dropped into a till, never rubbed against a pocket full of keys, never tumbled through a counting machine, but was instead recognized early, handled with cotton gloves, placed in a protective holder and treated with the reverence that its future value deserved even before that value was fully understood. Now imagine a coin that carries not only the full steps designation at MS68 but also a documented, dramatic die error, and you begin to understand why the numismatic community's most serious players are willing to commit the kind of financial resources to acquiring such a coin that most people associate with real estate transactions rather than hobby purchases. The story of how these coins are discovered is often just as compelling as the coins themselves, and the 2014 Jefferson Nickel has generated some of the most extraordinary discovery stories in recent numismatic memory. There is the account of a young woman in Colorado, fresh out of college, working a part-time job at a grocery store, who began collecting Jefferson nickels almost on a whim after watching a video online about mint errors, who spent 18 months meticulously searching through her register's nickel drawer at the end of every shift, placing promising specimens in small manila envelopes labeled with dates and notes, and who one evening under a bright kitchen lamp found herself staring at a 2014 nickel whose doubling was so pronounced, so unmistakable, that she actually took a photograph of it and sent it to 3 different coin forums before she let herself fully believe what she was seeing. The responses from the forum members came flooding back within minutes: experienced collectors, professional numismatists, long-time hobbyists, and every single one of them said the same thing: get that coin certified immediately, do not touch the surfaces, do not clean it, do not show it to anyone else until it is safely in a PCGS or NGC holder, because what you have found is exceptional. That story, which circulated through the numismatic community and generated enormous excitement, is just one of several documented discovery accounts associated with high-grade error examples of the 2014 Jefferson Nickel, and each story reinforces the same fundamental truth about rare coin collecting, that the fortune is out there, that it is accessible to ordinary people, that it does not require wealth or connections or specialized equipment to find, it requires only knowledge and patience, and the discipline to look carefully at things that everyone else is ignoring. The auction trajectory for elite 2014 Jefferson nickels has been one of the most dramatic appreciation curves in the modern coin market, with certified examples in the MS67 and MS68 full steps range showing price increases that have outpaced traditional investments over the same period by a staggering margin. Major auction houses have reported unprecedented bidding activity on top-tier Jefferson nickels from this era, with phone bidders, floor bidders, and online bidders from across the United States and internationally competing fiercely for coins that represent the absolute pinnacle of this denomination's collectability. The collector demographic for high-grade modern-era nickels has expanded dramatically in recent years, driven partly by accessibility. These are coins that theoretically anyone could find, and partly by the growing recognition that modern rarities from the late 20th and early 21st centuries represent an underappreciated frontier in a market historically dominated by 19th-century classics and early American coppers. A $33 million valuation for a 2014 Jefferson nickel in its most spectacular form is not a fantasy. It is the logical endpoint of a collector market that is increasingly sophisticated, increasingly well-funded, and increasingly hungry for the kind of numismatic perfection that this coin, at its very best, represents. And as you sit here right now, listening to this story, the thought that should be running through your mind, the thought that should be making the back of your neck tingle just slightly, is that this coin was made in 2014. It has been in circulation for just over a decade. It could be in a jar on your kitchen counter. It could be in the change compartment of your car. It could be in a paper roll sitting in a desk drawer, mixed in with 100 other nickels that you have never once examined closely. The 2014 Jefferson Nickel is the ultimate reminder that in the world of rare coins, the most extraordinary treasures are sometimes the ones we handle without thinking, the ones we drop into vending machines and parking meters and tip jars, the ones that pass through our hands 100 times before someone with knowledge, someone with patience, someone who watched a video exactly like this one, stops, looks closely, and realizes that what they are holding is not 5 cents but a doorway to a fortune that most people will never even come close to. This is the grand finale of our journey today, and what a journey it has been, from the mint floors of Denver in 2002 to the mint floors of Denver in 2014, from one extraordinary Jefferson nickel to another, from $39 million to $33 million, two coins that together tell a story about the hidden value lurking in the most ordinary corners of everyday American life. If today's video has taught you anything, let it be this: knowledge is the rarest coin of all, and you just earned some. Go check your nickels.